Beautiful. Thanks, Vicky. Welcome to you all. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm blessed to be here. Quiet in my soul, I tried to rest a little bit to deliver a few things that were a little bit more difficult to understand last week. So once again, you're welcome. We're going to pray a moment of time, keep a silent time for the Remembrance Day, and thank you for your commitment despite that feast and so on. Not feast, but despite that holiday. I realized I prepared quite a bit this week for tonight, and once again, the thing is, a night like last week here, we would need to carry on, because I realize again by reworking my notes and so on that lots of answers are basically given in the next segment and so on. It's like this all the time in the class that we do in the life of Christ. Sometimes I say, oh, be patient with me, I'm coming to that point and so on. But there was some confusion when I go a little bit too fast. But tonight, take a deep breath. I'm going to try to be kind with you as far as speed is concerned. And I will make a short review. So that's why I would like to have you right here on point number 3. Look at my thumb here, the signs, plural of deliverance, the offer of a sign, rejection of the offer, the sign to the house of David, the sign to Ahaz. And then on the PowerPoint last week, if I'm not mistaken, we finished right there. Do you remember the play on words? If in God you do not believe, neither blessing will you receive. And then all of this is new, which I'm going to ask you to make your notes once we reach there in about 10 minutes and so on. So you should find it interesting in a passage that is largely read, but I will explain also to you why I went so in details and so forth once we reach that place. So why don't we unite our hearts? Keep silence in remembrance, lest we forget, and so on. And don't miss tomorrow night's message. I will allude to Remembrance Day from a biblical perspective. Father in heaven, we give you thanks for our country. We give you thanks for the kind of freedom that we have, although it's basically also slavery to consumerism. But I know what they mean by the fact that being a free country type of thing where there is no war in democracy and so on. However, it's nothing in comparison to what we are expecting in the faith, the Messianic kingdom of your Son to come very soon. I'm asking you to bless the veterans that are still around, getting older in age and so on. Bless them, Father, for the actions that they did commit and how they survive, and most likely the traumas, Father, that they have about memories of atrocities of wars and so on. We give you thanks as far as we are concerned tonight. It's a beautiful night to study prophecies like this, to give you guidance for the future, and certainly hope in time of distress like we are in right now around the planet. Teach us your ways. Give me patience and slowness of speech in a positive sense, that it may make sense. And let us remember one thing, dear Lord, that without the Holy Spirit within us, these things are simply not understandable. Even as saved, we need to rely fully, not upon our own perspective or our own understanding, but the Spirit of God within us has to do the work of illumination, and we would like to surrender ourselves to His work, that we may receive what we need to receive. I pray this, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen. So let's go back basically to Arabic number 3, the sign of deliverance. I would like to have you in the book of Isaiah, the offer of Ahaz, chapter 7, 10, and 11. So don't make a lot of notes because you probably have your notes already here. I'm going to do it by means of a review. Okay? So just that we may understand, and keep in mind that I explain these things to you to be basically kept from the law of double fulfillment, which I don't believe in, that the prophecy can be doubly fulfilled. It's non-existent in the text. And if you go into your footnotes, I see thick Bible on the table. If you go into footnotes of Bible studies, sometimes that's what they allude to. And when you don't know these things, you can be led astray in your thinking. If there is a law that applies here, it's the law of double reference here. Like I explained to you, a passage or an event basically that is mingled together without a gap of time and it flows here. This is exactly what we have. When you read verses 10, 11, and 12 here, then the Lord spoke again to Ahaz. And then the Lord spoke again to Ahaz, saying, ask a sign for yourself and from the Lord your God, make it deep as Sheol or high as heaven. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, nor will I test the Lord. Then he said, and so on. So 10, 11, and 12, all the yous, like I say, the yous in Hebrew are in the plural form. Okay, they are in the singular. All the yous are in the singular because basically the Lord speak to him through Isaiah and so on, and all the yous are in the singular. Isaiah is speaking only to Ahaz. Make a note of that. Jehovah, thy God, your God, it's singular. I said to you last week that Ahaz is an unbeliever, but he says Jehovah your God just because of covenant relationship, because he is the king of Judah. Isaiah here is offering Ahaz anything he wants. Whatever Ahaz will be asking God in order to convince him, to convince the king that the prophecy of verses 7, 8, and 9 here, whatever it comes, whatever it takes to convince Ahaz that the house of David will not be done away with, God will do it for him. We have seen last week at the word sign, OTH in Hebrew. It's used in 3 ways. I don't need to repeat them. Here it's used in the way of miracle because knowing Ahaz here, it takes a miracle for him basically to believe. Okay? So just to repeat what I said last week. At this point, Ahaz says in verse 12, I will not ask nor will I test the Lord here. He's not tempting the Lord. He's playing the spiritual right now, like we have seen last week, because he cannot tempt the Lord because this is the Lord that is offering a sign, not him asking for a sign. And I explained to you that he was appealing to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. He's referring to that because the scribes around him taught him this here. But this is not a valid usage of the passage of Deuteronomy at all here. He is not testing the Lord. He is playing the spiritual because the Lord offered him a sign here and he never asked for it. And the reason for rejecting the offer is this, because if he asks for a sign and it happens, like I said to you, it would require him to stop placing his faith in the pro-Assyrian plan that he has. The pro-Assyrian, he wants to hire the Assyrians against Syria and also the northern kingdom. So he would have to stop believing in them here. So that's the reason why he rejects the offer. He preferred to trust in his personal plan instead of trusting in the plans of the Lord. And we can, to an extent, even as believer, imitate just that. Now we move on to capital C. I think it's no longer much review, might be for what I will say one page here. The sign to the house of David. Yes, we saw it last week. The sign to the house of David. You might add this to your note at this point. In verses 13 and 14, I will read. Then he said, listen now, O house of David. Is it too slight a thing for you to try the patience of men, that you will try the patience of God as well? Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin, you should have the definite article, the virgin, will be with child and bear a son, and she will call his name Emmanuel. Now here, he begins to give two specific signs here. One for one party and one for the other. God will give a specific sign here, one for one party, I didn't say that last week, and one for the other party. Notice here, he is not addressing Ahaz personally now here. We saw it already. He is addressing the house of David. Because in the Hebrew, in verses 13 and 14, all the pronouns are plural. At that point, they are no longer in the singular. Let me reread that Texan style here. You will understand what I mean by this. I reread 13 and 14 Texan style here. Then he said, "Listen you all now, O house of David. Is it too slight a thing for ye all to try the patience of men, that you all will try the patience of my God as well?" That's Texan style, but that's in accordance to what you have in the book of Isaiah in the original language. So here God, through Isaiah, is addressing the house of David. You have a switch from the singular to the plural you. So that sign of Emmanuel and the child is not given to Ahaz, but to the house of David. Is it clear? Is it okay? The sign of verses 13 and 14 is not to Ahaz personally, but to the house of David. Remember the key problem that leads to double fulfillment for the people. How can this sign right there, which will occur only 700 years after that, could be of any comfort to Ahaz? Okay, that's the problem here. It cannot be given to any comfort to Ahaz because it will happen about 700 years down the road. So that's the issue of the problem of the passage as to why some people go with double fulfillment business at that place. And we don't need to go to double fulfillment, because some teachers say that there was a woman around him that was pregnant that would give birth to the child. That's double fulfillment here. As if you would be in trouble, and I say to you, as if you guys would be in trouble, and I say to you, 150 years down the road, you won't have that problem anymore. How is it of any encouragement with somebody that has cancer, a back problem, and so on and so forth? But is addressing here, not Ahaz particularly, is addressing the house of David. Let me carry on, and it's going to make sense in a moment. Now verse 14. Now it's all new. I slow down the pace. You need to note this. Behold the virgin in verse 14. Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, make a note in your Bible, because in the Hebrew you have the definite article, the virgin will be with child and bear a son, and she will call his name Emmanuel. The word behold here, it could be referring to something past, present, or future. Behold is not only future. It could be behold past, behold present, or future. By itself, the word behold in verse 14 does not necessarily require the future. It could be past, present, and future. But when you have the word behold, I remember having taught this, but I was kind of tired. When you have the word behold in Hebrew, it's an issue of Hebrew grammar here. When you have the word behold, cope or coin with an active participle, it's always future. And the shall conceive in your text, behold, the virgin will be with child, or shall conceive, is an active participle. And in that case, it is automatically future tense here. It refers to something still future, not past. Okay? Make a note. Something future, not past, meaning there is no woman in the context that has been already pregnant here. Okay? At all. But notice, like I said last week, what he says is still future. It's not the birth that is still future. That's the conception that is future. Okay? He is not referring to any woman in the city right now that is pregnant. And that's why some people come with double fulfillment. It's not the birth of the child that is still future. This is the conception that is future. Okay? Isaiah himself used the word behold 43 times here. And it's always future for Isaiah, with one exception, chapters 48, verse 7. Now that's where we quit. The next thing is the term divergent here. Circle the virgin here. You have 3 Hebrew words for virgin. Now you're going to be willing to note this. The first one is Nahara. The second one, you won't have time to note here, we'll come back, will be Betula. And the third one will be Alma. I'm saying that to you right now. The one that Isaiah is using is Alma. Let me explain how they work. And the reason why I explain to you is because some critics of the word of Isaiah says that it was not really a virgin because they know about these words and they don't know what to do with them. It's to basically to protect your soul, to understand that God is capable of doing miracles, is omnipotent, and is very much capable to render a young virgin pregnancy without using the sperm of the man. So let's take the first word. It's easy, Na'ara. That's what you would use in English, the Old English, the word damsel. The word Na'ara is used of virgin and non-virgin alike. In the sense of a virgin, you have an example of it in 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 2. And in the sense of a non-virgin, you have one example of it in the book of Ruth, chapter 2, verse 6 here. So that's the word Na'ara, and this is not what we have in the text of Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. Are you with me? The second word is the word Betula. Okay? This is the most known word, it's not here, in the today in the modern Hebrew. But in classical Hebrew, and the classical Hebrew is the Hebrew of the Old Testament, it's a single girl without reference to age at all. And with Betula, you need the descriptive phrase to emphasize the virginity. Okay? Let's look at some example together. I will read that for you. I explain that. When you use the word Betula, which is in classical Hebrew a single girl without any reference to the age, if you want to emphasize a pure, strict virginity, you need to add a descriptive phrase right now, and you will understand. Genesis 24:16. Don't go, I will read for you. Genesis 24:16 goes like this. The girl, which is the girl which is an Na'ara, was very beautiful, a virgin. You circle the word virgin, it's the word Betula, and no man had had relations with her. That's why you need with Betula, the no man did have relationship with her, meaning sexual intercourse, to emphasize the virginity of the person. Judges, the book of Judges. The book of Judges, chapter 21, verse 12. Chapter 21, verse 12 here. But the fields of the city and its village, no, this is not what I want. I'm not in Judges, I'm in Joshua. Let's go to Judges 21, verse 12. I am here just showing you that when you use the word Betula, you need the descriptive phrase to emphasize the virginity. That's all I do right now, just to show that to you. 21 verse 12 of the book of Judges. Be with me? 21 verse 12. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins who had not known a man by lying with him. So virgins here is the word betula, and that's why you have a descriptive phrase, who did not sleep with any man, meaning strict virginity. Okay? You have one more example that you can check for yourself. Joel chapter 1 verse 8. In that case, it's not a virgin, it's a widow. Okay? Now we come together to the word Alma, and that is here our area of interest. Alma. It's a young virgin of marriageable age, let's say 15 plus, and that's the word used in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. When you use Alma, it's not, you can look there too. When you use Alma, it's never used of a married woman. It is a real virgin in strict virginity, and it's a young virgin of marriageable age. When you look at the LXX, it's the number 70 in Roman numeral. The LXX, 70, that's what we call the Septuagint. This is the Greek equivalent to Alma is Parthenos. The LXX, it's a Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible. It's a Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible. And in the Hebrew Bible, you have the Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14 right here, and it uses the word Greek Parthenos, and it's always strict virginity. And it's used 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's always a young virgin of marriageable age here. Always. And this is the word that Isaiah is using. And this is exactly why I explained that to you, not to believe that it was not really a virgin birth. It comes from higher criticism, those who try to demolish the Bible. That's what they use to make their point. Now you are basically immunized from this, understanding that the word Alma or Parthenos do emphasize basically strict virginity in the sense of the word here.
That would be Mary?
That would be Mary. That's a reference to Mary. That's what she was. Do you know the word cognate? In all the cognate language, a similar language here, which is Ugaritic. You have this Semitic language, Ugaritic, Arabic, Phoenician language, Babylonian language, or Ugaritic or Aramaic here. The part of the word, it's ALM, that emphasizes virginity. And in all the Semitic language, or the cognate language close to Hebrew, that's the word that goes there. Okay? Hebrew is the original language. That's the heavenly language. That's the language that was spoken on the planet prior to the Tower of Babel. Okay? After the Tower of Babel, you see names of people that are not in Hebrew, but everything before Genesis 11 here works only in the Hebrew language. So the heavenly language is the Hebrew language. And in all the cognate languages here, that's the ALM that makes it a virgin and so forth. In this case, chapter 7, verse 14 here, you have only 2 ways to look at it, my 7:14. Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, a virgin would be with child and bear a son, and she will call his name Emmanuel. You have 2 ways to look at it. You want to know them. It's either you have a virgin birth, which is the way to look at it. It's either you have a real virgin birth here, or if you turn the coin here, if you flip the coin, you have an illegitimate birth. An illegitimate birth, it's not too big of a miracle. It happens nowadays daily. It happens a lot. And if you want to go that way here by double fulfillment here, an illegitimate birth here, you cause a problem of morality with God. Because the one that is speaking is Jehovah, is the Lord. The Lord will give you a sign. So you're stuck with a moral problem. You can only take it in two ways. It's either it is a genuine virgin birth, like it was of Mary. You nailed it, which you know, and I want you to believe for the rest of your existence. Nobody can shake you up with this. Or you have an illegitimate birth here. Because it's not the birth, it's the conception that is the miraculous. The child Jesus here was born in the exact same way that you were born. He grew up in the womb for 9 months and then decided to go out, break the waters, and he came. The birth of Christ has nothing miraculous attached to it. The miracle lies in the conception. Okay? Keep that in mind, always. Okay? So now who is performing the miracle? It's the Lord, so there is no, problem of moral with God. So the whole context here of the passage moves towards the virgin birth, nothing else, the birth of Jesus and so on. I explain this once again so that you might be immunized by the little comments of your Bible, those who try to say that there is a woman in the context and so on. Come with me in verse 14. Therefore the Lord himself, once again, will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin will be with child and bear a son, and she call his name Emmanuel. It's not only a virgin in the original, it's the virgin. Make a note of that. The virgin. And often in Bible study with me, you have heard me say that in the original Greek there is the definite article ha, virgin, ha betula, the virgin. It doesn't say the like the here. And there is 2 rules of grammar of a definite article. Okay? Am I going too fast? Yeah, this is the 2 rules of grammar that I'm giving you right now. In Hebrew, 2 rules of grammar. When you see a definite article, well, something specific is mentioned, the, Alma, in the Hebrew language. Okay? There is 2 laws that needs to be applied as a Bible expositor, those who are expert in the Hebrew language. The first rule refers to a woman in the immediate context. When you say, behold the virgin, the first rule that Francois has to ask himself when he reads the Hebrew language, the first rule has to be, it would refer to a woman in the immediate context. You always go to this first. Are you with me? So you need to look at your passage of Isaiah. And I said to you something last week. I said he is going not with his wife. Who is going with his son? He was going with his son, Shear-Yashuv. So the law of the grammar, since we have a definite article in front of the word Alma, the Alma, okay? The first rule, you try to find a woman in the immediate context here. Now, is there a woman mentioned in the immediate context right now? No. You have Ahaz, you have Isaiah, you have God, and you have his son Yeshar-Yashuv. None whatsoever. Now from that place where you say, no, there is no woman here, you go to the second law called the law of previous mention. The law of previous mention. The law of previous mention. Going back to an antecedent that would make sense. I'm going to give you an example. If I say to you, the Twin Tower, what comes to mind? 9/11. Because it has become an event that is labeled basically saying the Twin Tower. There is people, cities that has Twin Tower, but if I say to you the Twin Tower, New York City, September 9/11, and so on and so forth. If I say to you the word Exodus, plainly, Exodus. Exodus in Greek, it's an exit. This is it here right now. It says the symbol here. But when you have the word exit, it's Exodus in the Greek. But if I say to you the Exodus, what comes to mind? The Bible, Egypt and Moses, the liberation of the people of Israel, and so forth. So that's the same thing here. This is what happened right here. That's the law of previous reference, since no women are found in the context. You always go to the context first to find a woman. There is none. So then you go to the law of previous mention and so forth. There must be a specific woman now in the minds of the population around, or the minds of these guys here, where simply the Alma, a specific virgin, everybody will know what you are basically doing. And that's the case here. Nowhere has there ever been such a man. Now, where we have such a previous mention, you know now because I gave you the example of it last week. Where does it refer to? The virgin. They know the scriptures back then. You go straight back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, the first messianic prophecy. The virgin. That's the reference to it. Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. Yes, I'm going to read it for you to make sure that we are, because I know it by heart, but not every people know Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. It says this, he speaks to the serpent, and I will put enmity between you and the woman, between the serpent and the woman, and between your seed, this is key here, between your seed, Satan, and her seed, and so on. That's the seed that I want. So that's the antecedent to the Alma. It's not disease, it's just speaking. I did a session this morning. My voice is quitting on me sometimes. Okay, that's where it goes, back in 3:15, basically. That's the reference here. And the privilege that you have, listen closely, what Isaiah is doing here is finally explaining the mystery of Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. It's a beauty for you to study that right now. Because in Genesis 3:15, it's a prophecy is that of the Messiah's seed, or his genealogy, because his genealogy will not be reckoned after the father, but his genealogy will be reckoned after the Alma, his mother, because there was no sperm involved into the birth of Christ. And that goes completely contrary to all biblical system or principles of Jewish law. You are always reckoning a child by the seed of the father. And Isaiah, what he does here with this prophecy is bringing light of the mystery of the birth of Christ, that his seed will be reckoned after the seed of the mother. It's a beauty. That's probably the first time that you are exposed to it. So the Alma refers back to the people knew what he was doing, because they teach that in the synagogue. That's the coming of the Messiah. The seed of the woman is the Messiah, and the seed of the Satan is the Antichrist. So when they say the virgin, it refers to the woman, the virgin, basically the reckoning of the seed by the woman here. And now he explained why it's necessary. It is because there will be no male involved. He will be born of a virgin. That's a messianic credential. Question, somebody? Okay. There is something else on top of this. I can make you notes. Make your notes. Finish it. Okay? So we have no woman in the context. So like I read a commentary and it stuck with me. People think that that's the wife of Ahaz that will have a child, or the wife of Isaiah is pregnant with another child and so on. No, that's double fulfillment and it cannot happen. Okay? Here what we have a double reference, a block of scriptures without basically gap, which gives you something very, very far. And now in the next verse, in a few minutes after this speech right now, it will come back to Ahaz without a gap. He's not going to say, now Ahaz, look at me, I'm back to you. He carries on. Is it better explanation than last week?
Yeah. Got it.
Okay, I'm not over. Now we have something else, the naming of the child here. There is something else, his name shall be called Emmanuel. Sometimes, most of the time, when the parents name a child, it shows the thinking of the parents for the child. It might end up being true or not true. Okay, you have personal people in the Bible that their character or the character of the tribe is very true, and sometimes it's not true. A good example is Miriam, Mary. And the name of Hebrew Mary, it's Miriam, and it means obstinacy. And Mary was not obstinate at all. So in her case of that Mary, the naming of the child did not represent what she was, but in other people it does. In scriptures, when God names a child, it shows the character of the one so named. It shows the character of the one so named. And the character of this one here that will be born of a virgin is with us, God. Emmanuel. The God part of Emmanuel is E-L. Ima. Nu. This is with us, El. God. Okay? Emmanuel, God with us. En français, if I would say us, we say nous. N-O-U-S. Nous allons together. We go together. Here, Emmanuel. So basically borrowed from the Hebrew and so on. And concerning Emmanuel, in the context of the book of Emmanuel, we have a flow. It goes like this. We have a flow in the context of the book of Emmanuel. What is the book of Emmanuel? From which chapters to which chapter? What? 7 to 12. Beautiful. In 7:14, Emmanuel is to be born. In 7:14, Emmanuel is to be born, future. In chapter 9, Emmanuel will be viewed as having been born, prophetically, of course. In chapter 9, Emmanuel will be seen as having been born. Is that true? No. Yes, true, prophetically. And in chapter 11, Emmanuel will be seen as reigning. Prophetically, reigning. In the 1,000-year kingdom. You nailed it. And we will finish, I don't know when, the book of Emmanuel, but you will see his character coming out in the book of Emmanuel, because Emmanuel is mentioned 3 times. Twice as Emmanuel, and 1 time in English as God is with us, but if you read the Hebrew, it's Emmanuel here. Yes?
I don't want to cut you, but I have a question.
Go away, I will decide if I answer or not based upon what I will say right now.
When God is giving a name, it means.
Oh yeah, with God he won't go wrong.
So when he's changing names, because he did a few times, you will be called this.
Abraham to Abraham. Yeah.
It goes with this?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Basically, when he renames a child, like Israel for Jacob, or Jacob for Israel instead, or Avram to Abraham, it's always after a spiritual struggle. He renamed them to encourage them, basically. They are always named after a crisis. And as far as Jacob, it was the fighting with the angel of Jehovah. When he got the hip dislocated here, he fought with God and he won. He won not because he was stronger than God. It was because, bless me. He grabbed Jehovah by the throat like this. Here, bless me. And he said, okay, I will bless you. So he wanted to be blessed so much. Was fighting with the angel of Jehovah, which is the pre-incarnate Christ.
Yes.
No less than this. Bless me. And he dislocated the hip and he said, I will bless you, I'll let you win, and so on. And he changed his name from Jacob to Israel. He strove with God. Let me recap. This will help you right now. Let me do a recap. Come back with me in chapters 7, 8, and 9 for a second. In verses 7, 8, and 9. Come back. What 7, 8, and 9? It's the prophecy to Ahaz and a promise that they will not destroy the house of David. Thus says Jehovah God, or the Adonai Jehovah, it will not stand, nor shall it come to pass. To do what? To get away with the house of David. For the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. Now within another 65 years, Ephraim will be shattered, so that it's no longer a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you will not believe, you surely shall not last. Circle, if you will not believe, you surely shall not last. We pause. Vicky, please.